Facebook owner Meta Platforms is slashing its hiring. The firm has cut plans to take on new engineers by at least 30% this year. Company boss Mark Zuckerberg broke the news to employees on Thursday. He says workers need to brace for a deep economic downturn, predicting it could be one of the worst in recent economic history. Zuckerberg said Meta had planned to hire 10,000 new engineers, but that number will now fall to 7,000 or even less. The company is also leaving some vacant positions unfilled and turning up the heat on management to weed out poor performers. Zuckerberg says more aggressive performance goals should make some folk realize that working at Facebook isn't for them. Meta is already battling a tough year, with its shares down by around a half. That after the firm said active users on the social network had seen a quarterly decline for the first time. The downturn comes at an awkward time, with Meta spending big to fend off competition from TikTok and develop virtual reality technologies.
More than 6 decades after his assassination, the only known remains of Congolese independence hero Patrice Lumumba were finally laid to rest on home soil on Thursday. Hundreds gathered in a vast square in Kinshasa for the funeral, attended by family members including his daughter Juliana.
We are happy. After 61 years of mourning, I can say Daddy is home, and I think that the Congolese people are also happy. 61 years of mourning is a very long time.
The ceremony was held on the 62nd anniversary of Democratic Republic of Congo's independence from Belgium. On that day, Lumumba, the country's first democratically elected prime minister, had excoriated Congo's former colonial rulers. He also alarmed the West with overtures to Moscow at the height of the Cold War. His government lasted just 3 months before he was overthrown by Belgian-backed secessionist rebels. Lumumba was killed by a firing squad the following year. Supporters and some historians accused the CIA of involvement. A Belgian parliamentary investigation in 2002 concluded that Belgium was morally responsible. Congo's president, Félix Tshisekedi.
It is only by saying the truth, by establishing responsibilities of each party, we can together, Congolese and Belgian, begin the decisive process of forgiveness, justice, and true and complete reconciliation.
Lumumba's body was never found, but a tooth was reportedly taken by the Belgian policeman who disposed of his remains. Belgium returned that tooth to Lumumba's family on June 20th. After Thursday's ceremony, a coffin carrying the remains was escorted to a mausoleum.
The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday imposed limits on the federal government's authority to regulate carbon emissions in a ruling that will undermine President Joe Biden's plans to tackle climate change. The court's ruling restricts the Environmental Protection Agency's authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from existing coal and gas-fired power plants under the landmark Clean Air Act anti-pollution law. In line with the series of sweeping decisions made over the past week, the court's 6 conservatives were in the majority, with the 3 liberals dissenting. Biden said the decision risks damaging our nation's ability to keep our air clean and combat climate change, and that he directed his legal team to work with the Justice Department and affected agencies to review the Supreme Court ruling. Stephen Cohen is a former EPA consultant and director of the Earth Institute's research program on sustainability policy and management at Columbia University.
Climate change is an existential crisis, and this very ideological court is more concerned with limiting government than in dealing with this existential crisis.
The ruling was based on what is called the major questions legal doctrine that requires explicit congressional authorization for action on issues of broad importance and societal impact. The ruling is likely to have implications beyond the EPA as it raises new legal questions about any big decisions made by federal agencies.
The suspected driver of a truck packed with dozens of migrants who died during a Texas smuggling attempt was allegedly under the influence of methamphetamine when police found him. That's according to U.S. lawmaker Henry Cuellar, who cited information from law enforcement. An official from the Customs and Border Protection told Reuters the same. On Thursday, 45-year-old suspect Homero Zamorano Jr. appeared in a federal court in San Antonio, where human trafficking charges against him were read. If convicted, Zamorano was told he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison or even the death penalty. According to filed documents, San Antonio police officers on Monday found him hiding in brush near the abandoned cargo trailer. Officials said the vehicle showed no signs of water supplies or working air conditioning. Mexican officials said Zamorano had tried to pass himself off as one of the survivors. On Monday, bodies were found stacked inside the sweltering hot truck as temperatures soared over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Other victims were found in nearby brush. More than 50 migrants lost their lives, making it the deadliest such trafficking incident on record in the United States. Gerardo Olivares was still waiting in Mexico for news on his son, who was one of the passengers. Others in Central America are also waiting to hear and praying that their loved ones are still alive. On average, there are around 20 hectares that were consumed until yesterday, but between the morning and the afternoon hours it increased a little. A new evaluation will come. There are a few more burnt hectares increasing.